Well, I want to jump off to a slightly different angle, and it also relates to just a statement that I read recently by one of the regional art critics, Leanne Goebel, and this was just in her newsletter the other day. She says, "What can be known of the man who forcibly turned his back on the commercial art world in the 1970s? This question may well be the province of the new Clyfford Still Museum, which bests any hagiographic museum dedicated to a single artist's work. In possessing 94% of his lifetime output, which was 825 paintings, 1,575 works on paper, and 3 sculptures." And so, you know, in reflecting on that statement, I think I want Bruce to maybe be the first one to answer this, because there's such the legacy with Clyfford Still, it seems like such an enormous volume, and the fact that very little of it maybe escaped into the market, I think is very profound. And I'll never forget the day that I visited Bruce's old studio a few years back when we were studying with Clark and Margaret over in a different neighborhood, and going downstairs, and you know, Bruce pulls out box after box of these works on paper that, you know, to me was like being a kid in a candy store and just going, this is profound to be able to have the opportunity to view these things, and which had been, you know, maybe largely uncatalogued. So many of them were experimental. Some of them were just absolutely beautiful and made me as an art dealer go, wow, I want to bring that to the light of day. So just, I'd love to hear some reflections on this concept of an artist's output, and, you know, how maybe you, I know you all approach that in different ways, but maybe Bruce, if you want to start.
Are you suggesting I'm a little too much?
No, no.
It's supposed to be a joke.
Well, there is a certain sense of, as an art dealer, I say, you know, I feel I know every artist's output to a certain extent, but maybe not fully. And it was that sort of sense of, you know, your process almost being like such a full embodiment that it's mind-blowing to me, and that maybe your numbers could rack up or even exceed. I've been to, you know, Dave's studio years ago, and just like the sheer force of seeing this big picture of an artist's career is kind of mind-blowing. So, you know, what are your thoughts in relationship to that work? And maybe a future legacy with it, I don't know.
Well, it is something that, I mean, I think that what I'm assuming I'm trying to get to something, which I don't know that I would, but I think it's only really visible across because it's so process-oriented. And that's what I focus on in terms of my manipulation, is the manipulation of what comes together to make the piece. So I don't think that that's really visible except in a kind of overview, or, you know, to view it over time as it changes and evolves and that kind of stuff. And one of the things I've done recently is I dramatically increase the amount of work that I make, because I wanted to see the change happening more readily in front of me. So I've made a lot of work over the last 2 years, I think, probably 400 paintings, something like that, because I wanted to see that. But it's a kind of problem, which is I was wrestling with that with the last show I had here, which was I Am a Cloud, because I had 80 paintings, and I had this amount of space to put it in, and what do you do? And I can't stand a grid anymore, unless, of course, it's flat. So, you know, there was this kind of dilemma, what do I do with that? And that's actually one of the reasons why I've gotten really interested in the internet and the space of, and how work, like what do you do with a website? And for me, there's this kind of first time where I might be able to make available, or I'm attempting to, the range of things so that you can see the kind of, it's almost like, you know, sort of a self-curated retrospective, I suppose. But I'm really interested in being able to see even that for myself. Does that answer the question? So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to me, I've always wondered, like, you know, is there a way to have anybody view that, even the artist yourself, because the volume can be considerable, and you know, I think it's an interesting topic amongst artists because everybody, you know, approaches it very differently. To me, it's interesting, you know, you bringing up the web, and, you know, looking at Dave and saying, Dave, do you even have a website?
I don't.
You don't. You know, you most likely wouldn't on your own accord, I suspect. But would you be interested
Sure.
in
No,
that?
I'm actually working in that direction. It's been
Okay.
a huge challenge for me to turn slides into a digital format. So that's underway now. So we'll see where all that leads. Anyone who really is prolific runs into serious storage problems. And it's something that I find I'm talking about with other artists sort of, you know, on the sideline. And I have a friend whose name I won't mention, but I highly respect this artist here in Denver, and he has been renting the trailer parts of 18-wheelers to store his work in, because there's not room to put it anyplace else. And what would be ideal is if there was a demand for one's work that would cause all of us not to have storage problems. But it doesn't always work out that way. And you know, I've even thought of having a giant bonfire and sort of ending some of these things. You know, recently I have destroyed a few things that weren't going anywhere, and it felt great to get rid of those. And it goes back to seeing a video of Klaus Oldenburg, who was going through a series of drawings, and he would pick up one and he'd say, you know, there's something going on here. And this drawing is saying to me, don't throw me away, there's something here. And he'd put that in one pile, and then he'd pick up another one and he'd go, you know, I'm solving this, and he'd throw it in the trash. And I think that that's certainly an option that's out there too, for me at least. But it becomes an ongoing problem, and it gets really expensive to do these kinds of things.
I'm going to follow up on that. If anybody else wants to comment on this, I would love to hear it. But you know, your dimensional circular canvases that are, I don't know what the absolute height is, but they're probably larger than the height of this room.
Well, the largest was 10 feet.
Oh, okay, so, you know, in working on pieces like that, was there any sense that you would have a home for them, or was there a sense that, hey, I'm going to make this thing and I'm going to either hopefully sell it or have to find a place to put it? What goes through an artist's mind in that situation?
The largest works did have a destination,
okay,
as I was working on it. And I kind of made a pact with myself that I'm not going to do any really large work unless there's a particular reason for it. But I'm a person that doesn't court commissions. If someone approached me about doing something, I would say, well, you know, I'll think about that, and I'll be working and keeping some of these things in mind. If you see something that you like, that'd be fine. If you don't, that's fine as well. And I don't want to ever compromise what I'm doing, because I want to be happy to eat it. you know? And so I was asked by Jim Sutler, who was the co-architect of the Denver Art Museum, to do 3 paintings for one of his projects. And I remember bringing the drawings for these, and they were supposed to be at 8 feet in diameter, and I felt that they should be 9 feet in diameter. My mistake was not having the price be a little bit higher than that. And I told him at one point that whatever happened with those, I wanted to be able to happily live with them myself if for some reason they didn't fit with the destination. They did work out, and it did work out. But I know that there are a lot of people that do work for people. And I get the things from the 1% for art, or at least I used to. I get some things from some sort of commission in Las Vegas. And whenever I see these things, it's like, well, we want something that's bomb-proof and will stand the elements and be good to -20 and will exist at 120 degrees frequently. And if it gets rained on and it, you know, it's got to be graffiti-proof, and I just think, you know, well, I'm not interested. And again, why be an art if you can't do what you want? So I'm trying to stick with that kind of sensibility. I'll stop there.
Does